Have you ever beaten a super grandmaster before? Chances are you haven't. Well, neither have I. But this guy right here, he defeated not one, but two in the same tournament. And you know what's even crazier about this is that he hasn't won any other game. He just beat two players that were very close to 2800. One of them was over 2800, and then just simply didn't win any other games. I mean, that's crazy. But without further ado, let me introduce you to Zviad Izoria. And now, this is the part of the series Grandmaster Birthdays where we wish happy birthday on each day of the year, either through a short or through a video if the person really deserves a video. And I cannot fit everything into a short. But this story is just amazing. We're in the 2018 American Championship, right? US Championship. I didn't remember that. And you know, this guy, Zviad Izoria, I'm gonna show you the standings at the end of the video, but he played both Hikaru Nakamura and Fabiano Caruana. And I'm gonna show you the game against Hikaru Nakamura first. He has the white pieces, and this is round 7. And he opens up with knight f3, g6, e4. So we have a Zuckertort opening, and basically it's gonna turn into some sort of King's Indian or like modern, whatever you want to name this. The plan is clear, and Hikaru loves these positions, and sometimes he wins them, sometimes he doesn't win them. Well, I mean, I think it's pretty clear what is gonna happen this time around, but why is more fascinating. So here Zviad just plays e5. And Hikaru, for some weird reason, doesn't take back the pawn, doesn't go back knight e8. Like this is somewhat normal, and then knight e7, for example, putting pressure on the pawn, and then e6. We have seen this. We have definitely seen this before, and this is okay. I mean, you know, this is okay. But the way Hikaru did it after e5, he just played knight g4. And this is crazy, because really Hikaru he just blundered this, and then knight c3, and then rook d1, and like, what is Hikaru even doing? What is this? I mean, what is this? I mean, the bishop makes sense, but what is this? The king and the knight on the h file, and really there's no pressure on the center, because you cannot take just bishop takes h6, for example, this, and now I mean you can do whatever, like knight takes, or even better, you can go d takes with an attack on the queen, and I mean that's it. So yeah, for that reason Hikaru tries a6, but now just a3, b5. Okay, no problem. I go bishop d5. I just pin you here. You have to defend that, and now I just go bishop f4, defending my center. And okay, queen c8. Hikaru he's really resilient, so he's always finding defensive resources, and even though this position is technically lost, he will fight until the end. Bishop e4 now, and rook to b8. You get out of the pins, and rook e1 now. Zviad makes a way for his other rook to join, and now Zviad's position is just looking amazing. Rooks down the center, bishops eyeing the king, knights ready to jump in, and the queen just orchestrating everything in a beautiful manner. Hikaru comes in, tries to defend, bishop goes back to c1. You're not trading the bishops for these knights. Knight goes back, and now Hikaru will try to somehow reroute something here, but it's really hard. And Zviad decides to go for this trade, which is actually the right thing to do. Why? Because the bishop exerts a lot of pressure on your position, and you cannot easily move around. And after this trade, and also if queen takes, because Hikaru opted for this, if queen takes, you might fall victim to some knight e4, and then I don't know, something like knight g5. I don't know why Hikaru decided to take with the rook, but I mean, taking with the rook is really fine, and maybe he just wanted to play some c5 or have this pressure of b4. Who am I to say what and what not to do? Queen to e4 and now c5. So right, he wanted to play c5, he got to play c5, and now knight to d5. I mean, Zviad's plan is really easy. Just slowly move forward, bring in the knight, and then bring in the other knight. Put pressure on this pawn, and then maybe somehow bring in the rooks. So HIKARU just plays c4, and we have now knight g5, knight takes g5, bishop takes g5, and queen to f5. And HIKARU really would kind of like this trade here, because now there's a little less pressure. I mean, black's position still sucks massively, but you might be able to play some e6 and maybe get your knight out. Maybe. But you're gonna lose a pawn in the process, and I mean, again, the position is objectively lost, but maybe you find some hope of holding. But Zviad nicely goes back here. Now you're attacking the rook, and you're forcing black to defend. Now black, obviously black could not have taken here, because right, you would have taken the rook. And bishop back to c1, that's like the second time we've seen the bishop go here or here and then come back to c1. So yeah, I mean, I guess it's OP to get your bishop back to c1. Just kidding, but g4 and now queen to c8. So again, Zviad slowly making progress. You don't have to rush in chess. That's the beauty of it. You can win in after 90 moves, you can win after 20 moves, you can win after 40 moves, and you can just win whenever. So he just takes a step back with the queen, now prepares some sort of pushing of the pawn, maybe brings in the knight to e4 and e6. Now HIKARU is finally ready to get that knight out, but here intervenes something that Zviad could have done. He could have went knight e4 right away, and that's, you know, fascinating to me. If you take the pawn here, you have this move knight to d6 attacking this pawn, and the thing is bishop takes on d6. Now let's say you would like to go rook takes on d6, but you can also play this nice move queen c3 check, and after f6 you can then take this. So you have a lot of options, but in this variation you have to be careful about certain things like this. But you always have more pressure here as white, and that's the whole thing. Basically Zviad decides to play bishop f4, which is a little bit more passive, and he has the same idea, but he wants to make sure that he secures the position first. So knight e7 now. I don't know why b4 was marked here, because knight e4 just happens knight e4, and now the pawn is defended, and rook c7, and now just bishop g3 first. Why not simply knight d6 right away? Well, because queen f8, and then you might have some worries about this, and you're gonna have to play bishop g3 anyway. So bishop g3 first, Zviad plays a nice move, and now after queen f8, knight to f6. So you jump into f6, and obviously if takes, I mean, black is fine if takes with the queen, but if takes with the pawn, this knight is not feeling too well, because this bishop just opened up, and that's just GG's. So HIKARU doesn't want to do that. He wants to defend his rooks first, and he wants to create some breathing room. Zviad jumps in with the knight, and then after some time HIKARU just decides to take the knight. I don't know why HIKARU didn't want to repeat moves. I mean, maybe he saw that after this move, let's say knight d7, queen here, maybe he saw that Zviad had this h4 idea, which is really strong, and that's why he decided not to do that. And yeah, I mean, he just took the knight here, and now right, you're attacking black's knight, the knight move, and now queen e4. c3 but b3, a4 but ba. So now what Zviad did, he went for something not so optimal. He decided to get this exchange, win a pawn, and then win this pawn. So now Zviad is only up one pawn and temporarily equal. Now Hikaru is will be unable to defend this pawn, and we enter the final phase of the game, the end game. And Zviad grinded this endgame out. Now Hikaru had a lot of drawing chances here. Even up until this point, he had drawing chances. But as it is with all these endgames, if you crack at some point, well, you're just gonna lose the game. And it doesn't matter how close you are, because in the end, if you are not close enough, well, you are just gonna lose. And after some maneuvering, Zviad manages to get his king here, which is really nice because you're preparing a check and some king to f5 maneuver, and then you're guarded by the rook, and you can have your rook guarding this pawns right here, and also the king. So Hikaru tries to go back, but now king e4, rook d2, c4, king back to e6, but now rook to c3. Now Zviad tries this, but as I told you, king f3 now, and now c5. So the biggest asset in Zviad's position is this, and Hikaru cannot stop this pawn. Like if you try to go back with the rook, then you're gonna lose time here, and you're gonna be unable to defend both sides. So Hikaru, that's why he tries to stop that with the king, but now simply king f4, and Zviad now finally manages to get his rook here to f3. Now you don't care about the trade. You lose this pawn, yes, but you win this, and you get in here and you're winning. So Hikaru cannot do that. He's got to give a check, but now he loses a pawn, and here he loses another pawn, and that's it. And the funny thing about this game is that Hikaru actually, I mean, he's lost here, but he flags somehow. I think that's the story, that he flagged. But you gotta be careful here, because if you go rook g7 check, this is actually now all of a sudden a draw, because if this king f6, and you cannot push because you're getting checkmated. So Zviad still had something to prove, but rook to g6 on the other hand is now a win, because if check, now you just play for example king g8 check, here check, and you can just go out. For example, I mean, you can just go out here. That's the easiest way, in my opinion, to do it. And now, if you try to come back on the H file, I mean, you just simply get checked here. And now, I mean, if you go to the back rank, this is winning. And if you go here, well, just here in check and just this. So yes, Zviad still had to be a little bit careful, but he just smashed Hikaru. I mean, he just destroyed Hikaru. And now we go to Fabiano's game. Now Fabiano has the white pieces here. Zviad is playing with the black pieces. And let me tell you, Fabi wanted a win. Fabi has 200 rating points on his opponent. He's 200 rating points higher. And he's gonna play. And he's gonna play an opening that has a lot of fighting potential. A Gioco Pianissimo. One of the hardest openings in chess. And this has been played, this a4 advancement, not allowing any queenside expansion for white. And Fabiano says, no problem, I'm gonna go and remaneuver, make some space in the center, d4, bishop goes back, no problem, knight g3, let's play this game. Now all of the games here continue with rook e8, this game as well. And then really you have some options. You have this bishop f1, or you have bishop e3, oops, the other bishop e3, or you have a3, or you have d takes on e5. But Caruana plays this move, and Peter Lecco also played this move prior to this game, so maybe there was some inspiration there. But that game continued queen b8. This game continued queen b8. And that game continued knight a5, and knight a5 has its merits, but queen b8 is definitely better. So Zviad obviously looked at the other games, and he improved upon them, and he played this move queen to b8. Now this move queen to b8, at first it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense, But if you look at it in the context of like, if you're gonna open up the center here, let's say knight takes, you're gonna have some trouble here. And I think that's the whole point. Like bishop e3, for example, bishop takes, and now let's say rook takes. And here, first of all, you can just lift the rook up, but you can also play like check, let's say rook takes, and oh, excuse me, and now queen back to d8. So yeah, I don't know exactly. I'm sorry, I'm not that good at chess to tell you exactly why this queen to d8 move has to be played. But it's the best move historically and also according to the engine. And now d5 by Caruana. Well, Caruana always prepared here. The knight just goes back, and the knight comes now to h4, trying to get to this juicy f5 square. So king h7 is played, and now queen to f3. So Caruana is slowly getting there, but the problem is he doesn't have enough pieces. He only has 3 pieces, and really black has already 2 pieces defending, and you can say almost 3 pieces, potentially 4. So you really don't have a sufficient attack, and Zviad just comes back with the rook, with the queen, and then just comes back with the knight, and you don't care about this because you're just gonna play g6, and that's why this knight was important here to defend against this. So now Caruana is forced to go back with the knight, and actually reroutes his knight quite nicely to grab the bishop. And Zviad doesn't allow him to grab the bishop, but Caruana forces a trade. And now we have the following position, which, I mean, black is doing perfectly fine in this position. He doesn't have any more problems. His bishop is actually guarding very nicely this diagonal, and he's gonna be, you know, able to get some expansion of his own. But first of all, a reroute of the knight. Knight to h7, now making some room for the other knight to join f6, and then maybe go to g5 with this other knight. So f4 by Caruana, stopping that and also advancing. But now b5 by black, and after the knight goes back, now you take the pawn, and now you play queen f6. So now you want the trade. Caruana doesn't want to trade, but Zviad now reroutes the knight back to e7. So this game was just completely complicated, filled with reroutes and remaneuvering of pieces, and queen f3, rook a to b8, and a3. So now finally stopping this b4 advancement. But no worries, c5, and that's why this knight was important to now here take with the knight. But Caruana obviously doesn't want to open this up, because right, knight c6, and you just allow the knight an easy path to the center. Knight to c8, and after the queen e3, knight b6, knight f3. I mean, again, just remaneuvering again and again the pieces. Now finally knight to g5. Caruana doesn't want to trade. He wants to keep the position as complicated as possible. Now the players kind of threaten a repetition, but Caruana says no. And this move right here, I think they were in time trouble, because this move right here actually blunders the game. h5 would have been very strong here for black, because now you're all of the sudden you're having all of these pressures going on, and you have to play knight h1. That's like the only move to defend this. And now white seems really just clogged here, and knight f6, and black is slowly going for the win here. Bishop d3, every single move that you're playing is forcing knight c4, overloading the bishop, attacking this pawn, forcing the bishop to take, and now you have just too many sides where you attack. So black would have gotten the win like this, but okay, Zviad goes back, and now we have again a kind of an equalish position, and f6. Now h4 and h5. So, you know, both players advance their h pawns, and they get some more space. Caruana kind of gets these squares, and Zviad also establishes complete control over this g4 square. King f2, now knight f8, and here Zviad plays such a beauty. He plays knight to c8, and you might ask yourself, well, what's so beautiful about this move? Well, you gotta see, the position is way too closed. I mean, there's simply 7 pawns for each side, and you know, they take up so much space on the board that really the bishops, I mean, the bishops are okay, especially black's bishop kind of has this way of seeing the board, and white's bishop is slightly worse, but the knights are gonna be the MVPs. So both players are gonna try to remaneuver their knights. Knight e7, just look at that, the knight goes here, 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 and then will go here if it's allowed to go there. And the FABI, I think he finally catches on to that and stops this. But now it's too late, because once you have stopped this, now I have another threat, f5. And FABI tries to create some counterplay with b3, but now AB, rook takes, and now c4, a crucial move, cutting the circulation here, cutting the attack of the bishop on the pawn. And now here you're gonna get there, and Zviad knows that, so he takes the pawn in the center. And FABI actually goes after this pawn and manages to get just sufficient counterplay to re-establish equality. And is actually a little bit better right now, because he has just active pieces even though he's down a pawn. Plus, he's gonna win that pawn some time in the future. And you know, after the players kind of get out of this sticky situation that they were in, now the board opens up, and FABI just takes a pawn. But you see, FABI, his mentality in this game was like, I have to win, I have to beat my opponent. I am 200 rated above him, and I am 2800. I am Fabiano Caruana. I am the challenger. I have to beat this guy. And you know, Zviad just played really accurate moves, and Caruana did the same. But the thing is, sometimes the position is just that, a draw. And knight d7, I mean, Caruana still tries desperately, but finally there's not really anything left, any juice to squeeze. And you know, the best bet, I mean, for me would have been to give this check, maybe king h6, and then, you know, maybe try to go after this pawn. But okay, Caruana obviously a better player, he plays king to d4, which is definitely perfectly fine. You defend this pawn this way, because he wanted to preserve his winning chances. He wanted to have an opportunity here, so he decides to push. Now he gives up this pawn, and now he goes in with the king, and he goes in with the knight. But this is just not enough. He falls victim to a check, and here after king e6, this move, rook c6, is not the best. If rook h8 would have been played here, sorry, that's 8. If rook h8 would have been played here, there would have been no more discussion here. King takes, but now no problem. Knight f5, king back, and now we just push. And the pawn here is faster than this pawn. If you try to push, h3, or you try to go push, h2, or you want to go push, well, I make a queen, and that's it. Because if you make a queen, I just take it. So, I mean, Zviad had that chance, but he went for this instead, defending the pawn. And now Caruana has, well, two drawing moves. Rook g7 check, and knight to d5. Now, Caruana doesn't play neither one of them. And you know, these moves kind of draw, because even though you not takes, even though you lose this pawn anyway, you are able to have sufficient counterplay so that you can get, for example, in this position, which is technically a draw. And if so, you play king e7, but if you play this right away, it's kind of the same thing. Maybe king h6. Now maybe you can play some like rook back to b7, but and then be fine in this case. Now actually this would be a little bit hard to draw. Actually, this would be losing. But if you play some like knight d5, again, you preserve your chances, and even though you're down 2 pawns, you're able to turn this around into a draw. But Caruana didn't see that. He played king d7, and now it's the beginning of the end. Knight takes on c4. Zviad, oh, that's so beautiful. Oh, that's beautiful, because now after this, now you're just lost. You're lost, and the pawn goes, and that's it. There's no way to stop the pawn. and Caruana is forced to resign. Sometimes wanting to win a game so much that you lose is not the way to go. But hey, I mean, that's how he got here. That's how FABI got here, by trying to win every single game. And there's no criticizing that. But if there's an opportunity, might as well just take it and beat two super grandmasters in the same tournament in the US Championship. And now I promised you to show you the standings. This is how the tournament actually finished. That loss actually that FABI had really impacted him, and he was unable to win it, and Sam Shankland was able to take the trophy home. But actually Zviad Izoria, you see, he only had 2 wins, and it was against the 2 super grandmasters, and he actually didn't finish all that well. I mean, he definitely had an okay tournament, but yeah, I mean, there were other players better than him, and I mean, that was just it. I mean, as you can see here, Samuel Shankland won with an undefeated score of 8.5, 1.5 point clear of Fabiano Caruana. So yeah, that's it. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. I know it's a little bit longer, but hey, sometimes you have to do this type of videos when the games are simply deserving of such videos. So I'll see you all in the next one. Kowalsky